covering Southeast Georgia and the Lowcountry. WJCL 22 News at 11 starts now.
We begin tonight with breaking news. 2 people are dead after a police chase ends in a crash. Good evening, everyone. I'm Shannon Royster. Georgia State troopers say the chase started in Liberty County and ended in Long County. We're told troopers tried to make a traffic stop on Leroy Coffer Highway around 6 this evening. The driver started speeding away and a chase began. Officials say the driver was going more than 100 miles per hour driving through Hinesville and into Little Wissy. Officials say the driver hit a person who was outside his vehicle on Highway 84 before crashing into a man getting off his motorcycle. Both people died as a result of that crash. Now, the driver was arrested at the scene. The names of the victims nor the suspect have been released. Charges are pending. Also breaking at this hour, WJCL has learned that 3 people from the Savannah area were killed today in a crash in Pulaski County. It happened on Georgia Highway 27. Details are limited, but Georgia State Patrol tell us 2 transit trucks crashed into each other. One of them caught fire. 3 people inside died. Autopsies are scheduled for next week. And right now, Tropical Storm Florence is being blamed for 1 death in South Carolina. It happened in Union County. That's in the upstate when a 61-year-old woman drove into a downed tree. Now, this makes at least 13 confirmed deaths in the Carolinas as a result of that storm. Now, Florence drenching both North and South Carolina with relentless rainfall. Serious flooding already happening, and it is expected to continue inland for days in both states. ABC's Marci Gonzalez reports from Wilmington, North Carolina.
Good evening. On yet another rainy night in North Carolina, there are curfews in place. There are new mandatory evacuations because in some places the dangerous effects of Florence are only getting worse.
The Coast Guard above still rising floodwaters, lifting stranded residents to safety.
I have never seen flash flooding like this occur in our state.
In the hardest hit communities in North Carolina, first responders and volunteers from across the country out on flood-ravaged streets, rescuing residents before rivers here swell even more.
We do believe that there will be a worst-case scenario. We're talking about flooding that has not been seen to this degree, potentially, since 1945. In
Wilmington, residents of this senior citizen community evacuated. This gas station destroyed by Florence's fierce winds. And as the storm continues its slow, disastrous crawl across the Carolinas, some residents now returning home. Carol Rogers finding this, grateful she evacuated.
That is my room there that I would have been asleep in, so I would have been killed probably if I'd have stayed.
And the risk for many still is not over, with the rain still falling and flooding expected to inundate even more streets and communities in the coming days. Marci Gonzalez, ABC News, Wilmington, North Carolina.
Right now, Yamasee police say U.S. Highway 17 northbound is extremely backed up due to evacuees heading home. Today, Governor Henry McMaster lifted evacuation orders for Charleston, Dorchester, and Berkeley counties and Edisto Beach. Evacuation orders remain in effect for all zones in Georgetown and Horry counties. Those will be lifted Sunday morning at 9. Still, officials warn residents that as the rivers crest, flash flooding is still a threat. So remember, turn around, don't drown. Get out of low-lying areas that flood easily. Do not drive or walk into flooded areas. It only takes 6 inches of water to knock you off your feet. And you never know the condition of roads underneath the water. So far, state officials say there have been no calls for rescue. In preparation for rivers to crest, the South Carolina National Guard is moving sandbags to affected areas. The Guard shared pictures on its Twitter page of teams filling sandbags in Columbia and delivering them to Conway. The Guard says the 1-ton sandbags will be used to keep water away from the Waccamaw River. Well, a much different scene in southeast Georgia and the Low Country. You are looking live at downtown Savannah from our Skyview 22 camera on top of the Homewood Suites on the river. I'm here in the Weather Center now with Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Nelson. Jeremy, we did get some rain in here today. What about tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, I would say maybe just keep an umbrella on standby. We're not expecting widespread rains across the area. We're just on the extreme southern circulation there of Florence. It's still a tropical storm spinning its way through central. We'll talk about your work and school week forecast coming up.
Well, many people who evacuated south to Savannah to get away from the storm are facing a little trouble getting home. WJCL's Dave Williams caught up with some Wilmington, North Carolina evacuees and has their story.
It was an absolutely beautiful day in Savannah, with many locals and tourists taking advantage of it by spending some time at Forsyth Park. Among those, a couple of families from Wilmington, North Carolina who know each other but didn't realize they had evacuated here until running into each other Saturday. And of course, on the top of their minds, the devastation left behind in their hometown in Florence's wake.
It's really unfortunate. A lot of our neighbors, trees down. We have a few friends, there's trees through their houses. Actually, our grandparents, they have a tree right through their house and water's just pouring into it right now. So unfortunately, it's ruined.
Scared, very scared. We know a lot of people that have been impacted at home. We're pretty lucky that we had some people stay in our neighborhood, so we know how our neighborhood is, but the back of our neighborhood's under 3 foot of water. So we know a lot of people can't get home just near us.
In the midst of all the problems caused by Florence, there has been one bright spot, however, their stay in Savannah.
We've had a great time here. It's a beautiful place. Thankfully, we were able to pull the kids away and have some fun, and went to Tybee Island, exploring Savannah, going downtown, and at least getting them away from the storm and having fun.
Amazing. Like just talking to the people at the grocery stores, just people, do you need anything? We got invited, the people that have the Airbnb that we're staying in, their daughters staying below us, they invited us to dinner today.
In Savannah, Dave Williams, WJCL 22 News.
And right now, these evacuees may have to stay in Savannah for a little longer than expected. I'm sure they won't mind. Low Country residents are now coming back home. WJCL's Alex Littlehales reports from the South Carolina Welcome Center in Hardeeville, where travelers say they don't know what to expect when they return.
Even though Tropical Storm Florence was unpredictable, locals told me that they're glad they didn't take any chances.
Every 5 hours when they'd update, it's like, okay, are we leaving? And it's like, probably not. Are we leaving the next 5 hours?
When Governor Henry McMaster called for the mandatory evacuation of Jasper, Hampton, and Beaufort counties, Low Country residents decided it's better safe than sorry, evacuating to areas like Florida and Atlanta.
I just think we didn't really have nowhere to go or no money. We just, I guess, we wanted to live more than worry about that. We'll worry about that later.
Although the brunt of the storm has passed, parts of the Low Country could see potential flash flooding and power outages.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be flooded and wet. I mean, there's probably not much going to be left there. I'm sure it's standing, but probably shingles gone, took on water.
Officials say people should expect to be dealing with storm effects into next weekend. For those returning home, they say you can't put a price on safety.
It's better to be safe than sorry, if anything. I mean, like, thank God it wasn't as bad as, like, they said it would be. But, I mean, like, you got to be safe. You can't just, like, be there in, like, an emergency.
Governor McMaster said evacuation orders for Georgetown and Horry counties will be lifted at 9 o'clock Sunday morning. Reporting from the Low Country, Alex Littlehales, WJCL 22 News.
And classes in counties in the Low Country will resume on Monday. That's when all state offices previously closed will also reopen. Many of the evacuees from North and South Carolina and Virginia have spent time on Tybee Beach in Chatham County. Riptides were a concern for Tybee, but the waters have been mostly quiet. WJCL's Leandra Larson gives us a look at beach conditions.
We've been reporting here on Tybee all week, and today we saw the winds and the waves pick up just a little bit. But as Florence continues to cause damage on the East Coast, residents and visitors are pleasantly surprised by the conditions here.
We come down this week every year, and we were expecting a hurricane because we've been through 4, and we've decided that we're hurricane magnets.
A popular place spared from the damage of a strong storm. As a yellow flag waved over the beach, the weather was relatively normal. One Atlanta resident said she was not expecting the storm to miss the island completely.
No, I've been watching the news the whole while and just knew Tybee Island would be gone. But we're so thankful that it's still here and no problems.
Despite light rain and a few choppy waves, the beach showed no signs of a storm, leaving people to spend time at the place they love.
And it's still our favorite place. No matter where we go, Tybee's the favorite.
As we continue to monitor the final days of the storm, residents here are just feeling grateful that their little island was spared. Reporting in Tybee tonight, Leandra Larson, WJCL 22 News.
And Tybee residents, no strangers to strong storms. Florence would have been the third hurricane to hit Tybee in 3 years. Hurricane Matthew and Irma caused significant damage to the island.
And we continue to track Florence's path across South Carolina as you take a live look at Myrtle Beach. I'll show you here locally when we could have a couple more showers. That's coming up in your storm tracker forecast.
Plus, a new mom will always remember Hurricane Florence for something good. Today, remembering children killed in an act of violence in a city that became center stage in the fight for civil rights. Stay with us.